Okay, everyone, good morning. Good morning, hello, and welcome to Europe Goes Once Only Lithuania edition, an event that has been some time in the organizing, so we're delighted to see an absolutely packed room, lots of smiling faces, and lots of energy. So this is fantastic. My name is Tom Phillis, and I'm contracted to DG Digit in the Commission, and I will be emceeing this event. So you'll see me every now and then, hopefully bringing us through seamlessly the parts of the agenda, as seamless as cross-border data exchange, hopefully. Today, basically, we've got a number of different agenda groups to try and keep things lively. So first thing in the morning is we're going to have a number of keynote speeches that are going to set the scene, basically, and share a couple of political messages and the wider context. We are then going to have an introduction to the Once Only technical system. We understand that the knowledge of the system may be a bit different between people who are present, so we will have a presentation from the Lithuanian team on the OOTS to give a sort of baseline understanding for those especially who are new to the program. We'll then have a panel discussion, which will bring in that other topic, which is the onboarding of competent authorities to the system. That is the fundamental step of taking the core infrastructure that we have and connecting it to the authorities that will exchange and request the data. And we have many representatives from such authorities here with us over the next 2 days, which is fantastic. Then there will be a lunch as well, and before the lunch we'll give you a quick briefing on the workshops, and then after lunch we'll go into the workshops. The workshops obviously are to break things up, to take you into smaller groups where you can speak about areas and data domains perhaps a bit more familiar to you in smaller groups, especially so in terms of doing the work in English, it's a bit easier and allow people to share more ideas and more content. And the workshops will run today and through until tomorrow. And we have 5 workshop tracks, but we'll present all this in due course. And then in the afternoon, we'll have a series of presentations on wider European interoperability initiatives. How does Once Only and the Single Digital Gateway fit into the wider world of digital cross-border interoperability policy of the European Union? So that's what we have today. So it's a full agenda, but we try and mix it up so that it is interesting, that people can speak, but also there's time for you to learn as well. So voila, IDPR or GDPR, data protection. We have photographers here who are taking pictures, and we will share these pictures with you. If you do not want your pictures to appear online, you each received in your bags a sticker. Just place the sticker somewhere that's visible, and that way we know. I was thinking more chest. I saw some people gesturing toward the head. Frankly, wherever you feel is best. Maybe here is the clearest. And then we will know not to make those pictures available afterwards. Okay? And if you see an image that you do not wish to be shared, of course, come and tell us, and we will remove it. We will share these pictures, kindly being shared by the State Digital Solutions Agency via LinkedIn and Facebook. We have the QR codes here, but I mean, you can come and talk to any of us if you want to know how you'll get them, and we will share them with you. Okay, so that's the sort of, house rules, etc. So we can get straight into the content. And that's why it's an absolute pleasure for me to welcome to the stage our first speaker, Tomas Mizavičius, who is the Director of the State Digital Solutions Agency of Lithuania. We have a microphone here. So you come up here. Thomas, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? That's good, thank you. It's absolutely heartwarming experience seeing so many people here. I've heard people calling Vilnius today a capital of OTS, so it's, I guess, the right name to call it today. And yeah, it's really a great honor to host this event here in Lithuania, and personally for me to open that event here. So thank you. And of course, thanks to European Commission for trusting our ambitions to host this event. Also supporting us in the journey of making that happen, and also thanks to them for recognizing OTS as a extremely well managed initiative or digital initiative. So I guess we are being very proud of it, being part of it, of that initiative. And yeah, it's symbolic, and it's natural that we are kind of our agency is hosting this event here because we run most of the digital initiatives here in Lithuania, and and actually are the main digital policy implementer here. And OTS project really is a big part of our project portfolio, so that's why we are here. And what else? Yeah, this couldn't be happened without our government support, and I can say proudly that digital initiatives really takes a big part in our government program and plans, and this brings us to top benchmarks in all EU government index, open data maturity index, all other indexes. We are in top 10, so we hope that all new needs won't cut that digital budget in the future, and that commitment to digital future, digital interoperability initiatives and cooperation, cross-border cooperation will continue. So without further ado, I guess I need to give stage to our honorable guests and speakers. We have plenty of them. And yeah, have a nice event, fruitful event, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you. Okay, we're going to change the agenda ever so slightly to what was online, because we understand that the minister has a pressing engagement. So it's really a delight, thank you, to have with us Mr. Lukas Savikas, who is the Minister for Economy and Innovation in Lithuania. And it's really fantastic to have such senior figures here with us to showcase the political relevance of Once Only and the Single Digital Gateway. Minister, please.
Well, good morning. I'm gonna stick here. So good morning once again. It's a big pleasure for me to be here. I know that there are many topics to be discussed, and typically the introductory remarks and then speeches are not the most exciting ones. So I'm gonna try to kick it off with something which is a little bit of my personal experience in this field, which I think is a little bit relevant. So I'm not only a minister, but I'm also second cadency member of parliament. And within parliament last cadency, I was looking at initiatives which I would like to bring. And most typically, the most interesting, most exciting initiatives would run into a very strong opposition of our lawyers, who would say, well, that's very unconstitutional. And typically, when I run into problems like that, it's almost like a quality standard that typically this is a really life-changing suggestion, which is just maybe too soon or maybe too brave for this period of time. Similar happened with me when I was introducing a legislative amendment, which has not yet happened, but it's still in the process, is to make sure that I proposed a bill to introduce an amendment of digital first principle into our legal regulation, that whatever the state would be doing, it has to be first digital, unless it's impossible to make it digital, or unless someone requested to do otherwise. So this became a legal issue. But then I had this great honor to say that I would be also invited to be represented at a European conference on the future of Europe. And within that, I proposed the same idea. And there it was accepted with applauses, and it went to final conclusions. So what I found out is that some ideas are better to be introduced at the European level. And this, I think, once again comes down to today's event that we're having here today, is that we have this amazing tool which can help us, which can work as a platform, and it only has to be used by national governments and by different states. And I think this is what it is mainly about, to make sure that we hear the potential, to make sure that we understand how can this be put in action. And like we've been discussing before the start of the conference, that once we talk about things like we're discussing in this Once Only technical system conference, it's not the tool which typically is discussed when with a request to make it happen, but it's typically discussed when it's not being run efficiently, when it's not producing the benefits to the society and to the businesses. And I think this is where we are. We want to make sure that we raise this awareness of what we can do. And for Lithuania, I would say there's a very good topic under which we can operate this. This government, which now is working 100 and a few days, has a very clear priority. And that priority besides digital agenda. But that priority, of course, is cutting down administrative burden, reducing, cutting the red tape. And I think this is something which can play very successfully into that direction, because now there's a clear political will to find tools which would help us in a smart, efficient, technologically advanced way to implement those policies. Personally, in the Ministry of Economy and Innovation and all our agencies, we put a request in that we have to cut administrative burden by 30%. And I'm happy to say that digital tools is becoming part of that answer, because our agencies come up with solutions to say, we will do it, but we will do it by investing a little bit into new digital tools, which will help us to achieve that. So I think this conference is also an opportunity for us locally to find ways how can we connect existing priorities to mobilize support to make this tool as widely used as possible. So this is my short, as well, introductory remark. I wanted to keep it on a lighter note, and hopefully during the conference you will find those opportunities where you can connect priorities and build that momentum to use the tools which are now currently available. And I'm very thankful to our institutions who are taking the lead, because I think Lithuania has full potential to be a leading voice talking about digital Europe and finding tools to make it happen. And I came here directly from FinTech conference, and I think these guys are also doing amazing parts. So we have the skills, we have the people to make it happen, and hopefully you will see it, you will feel it, and you'll discuss that in your formats. Thank you once again, and all the best.
Thank you, Minister. Okay, sometimes it's easier to do it at European level. We don't always hear that, and I think that tees up our next intervention very well. So once again, thank you, Minister. So of course, the Single Digital Gateway and the Once-Only Technical System are part of a European initiative, just as the Minister highlighted. So what we would like to do now is we're delighted to have some words for Mr. Mark Beamish, who's the Deputy Head of Unit responsible for digital transformation of industry in DG GROW, so the Director General in the Commission responsible for the programme. So without further ado, Mark, I invite you to the stage. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Labas ritas. Yeah? And I will try a little bit further as well. So, malonu svečiuotis Lietuvoje. So it's a real pleasure to be here with you today at the beginning of this event, Once Only, in Lithuania. It's great to be back in Vilnius. It's lovely to be here in spring. Very happy that you organized the good weather as well. And very happy to be back in Lithuania, because we had very nice times here before. Went on a very memorable summer holiday about 15 years ago. We were in Vilnius, loved the trendy cafes and the trendy corners. We were in Nida and absolutely loved the beautiful white beaches. And in fact, we had such a good time that we decided to get married. Only decided, that came later. It was only when we were back in Brussels that we realized over the days and weeks and months just how long it would take to get all of our documents and all of our certificates and all of our data together from our different home countries, and for everything that Belgium needed as well for that procedure. Procedure is not a very nice word to refer to what is a beautiful life event, but indeed a life event was turned into something of a bureaucratic nightmare. And I remember thinking to myself then, surely in the European Union with a single market, surely this should be working better. It should be easier to do this sort of thing. We have the right to move around. We have the right to work, to study abroad. But how do we get from that promise, that right to do those things, to actually making them workable in practice? Yeah? How do we make the single market really beneficial for everybody? And how do we make cross-border administration simpler. So maybe let's just reflect for a moment on what the single market is about and why we want and need to make it work, why we need to make it a success. First reason, it brings great economic benefits. I know last year Lithuania marked its 20th anniversary as a member of the EU, and the Lithuanian president, together with the other two presidents of the Baltic states, issued a statement declaring, over the last 2 decades, our membership in the EU has played a crucial role in driving economic growth. Joining the EU provided us with easy access to a market with 450 million consumers, opened up new opportunities for businesses, boosted exports, and has seen foreign direct investment increase 6-fold since 2004. And indeed, Lithuania's gross domestic product has jumped from 50% of the EU average to 90% of the EU average in those 20 years. So Lithuania has also grown faster than any other new member of the EU. So it's fair to say that for Lithuania specifically, the single market has been a success story, and for many other countries too. Secondly, why we need to make the single market a success. Because yes, it has become the world's biggest internal integrated single market area, but it is more than just a market. It's about more than just economic growth, as I suggested as well in the introduction. It's a common space to live, to study, to marry, to retire across borders. We know the Erasmus program will probably be familiar to you, which has allowed nearly 13 million young people to study and work abroad, tens of thousands of them Lithuanians. You, of course, have the right to have your professional qualifications recognized, and then thanks to social security coordination, you can apply for healthcare and retire safely abroad as well. And it works in both directions. Yeah? There are some 20,000 EU citizens living in Lithuania as well, attracted by the growing economy, the way of life. So that's another reason why we want the single market to be a success. And thirdly, we need to make the single market a success because having a strong single market is also crucial in geopolitically uncertain times. And I think it's fair to say that we are living through such times. There are tough, sometimes unfair competition from other parts of the world, and it's only when the single market is working properly, only when we stand together with our combined economic power that we can stand up to that competition. And even considering our allies, the US announcing tariffs on many EU products this week, the EU will, of course, respond to that. But it's worth remembering what Mario Draghi, the former Italian Prime Minister, said in his report last year, which was that high internal barriers are far more damaging for growth than any tariff. So there as well, in terms of responding to the geopolitical challenge, the single market has a really central role, and that's why we need to make it work. So the single market's important for the economy, for jobs, for peace, for our standing in the world. But again, it's not enough to have the right to do all of these things, to move and to travel. It needs to be exercisable in practice. It needs to work in practice. It needs to be easier to get those certificates, to get married, to get your qualification recognized when you travel, to get your car registered when you take a job in another country. And in many cases, the law is already in place. Yeah? There are many, many laws that have been adopted over the years that put the rights in place, but actually making it work in practice is the difficult part of the work. And this is where authorities, national authorities, really come into play, because it's in providing public services to citizens and businesses that we can really make a difference to making the single market work. And this is where the single digital gateway comes in. Yeah? So it sets a framework for rethinking and redesigning how authorities provide public services to cross-border users. and making cross-border administration easier for businesses, for citizens, for pensioners, for everyone. And it's the once-only technical system, the subject of today and tomorrow, that is the digital solution for bringing those simplifications. So it allows data to be shared between authorities in different countries so that citizens and businesses don't have to keep providing the same information again and again. So once only. And we'll hear more in detail throughout the day exactly how it works, but it does connect official databases, such as many of the registers that many of you will work on, whether it's population register or vehicles register. And so when a Lithuanian citizen or business needs to complete a procedure in, say, Germany, the system can automatically retrieve the data that's needed from the Lithuanian database and send it to the authorities in Germany. And this is really where the challenge is. No? It's working out which documents, which data are needed by another country, because every country has their own rules, they have their own requirements for administrative procedures, and these can be very different. So these are barriers. They're not malicious barriers. They are simply barriers that are there that need to be overcome. So for example, if you need to prove your country of birth, normally it's your birth certificate that would be the document that's needed. But if you're a Swedish citizen, your birth certificate doesn't actually include the country of birth. And so you would need to prove it in another way. And the once-only technical system solves just this kind of problem. So it automatically matches the information requested by one country with the equivalent data available from another country. Yeah? So in my example, it will automatically then find the document that proves the country of birth, in that case in Sweden. And it does so by securely retrieving the required data in real time from the relevant sources, so that it's always up to date and always trustworthy. And so in all, it eliminates the need for manual searches of documents and of data and of certificates, and the need to upload that again and again. What are the benefits? Quite clear. Reduced administrative burden, as the minister was saying, cutting red tape, simplifying for both citizens and for companies, who then can spend more time on their actual business, or in the case of citizens, on their interests. And their savings are very impressive. We did a study last year which found that for SMEs, they can save about 50% in cost and in time in completing procedures with the once-only technical system. And for self-employed individuals, it was even higher, a 60% saving. So reducing administrative burden. Also increased efficiency for public authorities, because the system is automated once set up and allows you to deal with other more pressing public service needs. And so overall, it creates a better experience for citizens and companies in the single market. This system, this once-only system, can be, in a way, the invisible backbone of the single market, the infrastructure that actually makes it work in practice. And so you, as the public authorities in Lithuania and from many other member states today, are at the heart of that effort to make the once-only system work, and therefore also at the heart of making the single market work in practice. Yeah? You provide the data or request the data that will flow through the system, whichever register it might be. So getting your authorities connected to the system is a really crucial step in making this work, and that's why I'm so happy that so many people are here today. The timing as well of this event is really excellent. In just the next few months, several member states will be ready to be exchanging data and documents via the system, And it's great that Lithuania also has very ambitious plans over the next months into next year to make that operational as well. And Lithuania is very active in all of this work. And thanks again for organizing such a great event today. And I think the timing is also good because the political winds are in our sails. As the minister was saying, there's a lot of emphasis on simplification and reducing administrative burden. For the European Commission that came into, that took office last December, this is also a very, very big theme, simplification and making the single market work. And that all fits together very, very well with what we're talking about in these 2 days. So, in conclusion, if we agree that the single market is a really important answer to many of the challenges that we face in Europe, both economically, geopolitically, and in terms of prosperity for citizens, then let's do what we can to unlock those benefits, the benefits of that single market. Let's build a more seamless, more efficient, more citizen-centric Europe. And please, in your work, today and tomorrow and in the coming weeks and months, connecting to and developing this once-only technical system, simplifying administrative procedures, reducing bureaucracy, know that this is making a big difference for citizens and businesses, and for turning these promises of a single market into reality. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Mark. Yes. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. Okay, and thank you to all the speakers that we had that I think have so nicely set the scene and also the political context. Now, as I mentioned at the outset, we have Avola. We also have an announcement on Slider. Okay. We do it later. Okay. When it comes to the once-only technical system, we're dealing often with some abstraction, right? Once only. What does once only mean? How do we communicate it? The single digital gateway. There is a lot of need for creative messaging and how we explain this to people. And one of the phrases we use in English is cutting red tape, which I understand doesn't have an equivalent translation in Lithuanian. We'll come back to the songs in due course. It's cutting red tape. That's how we say it. So we want to start the section where we present the once-only technical system with a little visual demonstration of cutting red tape to help make it clear and also have a bit of fun. And this is also a way for us to remember that this event builds on the very successful event that we had in Helsinki last October. And it really is part of a roadshow that's being organized by the Commission and the Member States to bring once only closer to the competent authorities who are going to connect to the system. And it was great to have such a great event in October in Helsinki. It is great to have such a full room and fantastic event here now, and we have more events coming up this year. So without further ado, I'd like to invite the team who are going to make the next presentation, and we would like to invite Jarmo from the Finnish team over there, and we're going to do a little cutting of the red tape to help. A symbolic handover. Yes, can we get the mic? It's here, we have it here.
With this cutting, we want to retrieve spirit of Helsinki to the organizing team and all of you here today in Vilnius. So, great event for everyone. Thank you.
And also, I also would like to add that we got inspired from our Finnish colleagues and took a challenge to organize the same event in Lithuania. So thank you to everyone for coming. Yep.
You got at least 30%.
Thank you, Jarmo. And voila, and with this little ceremony, it's great to welcome to the stage 3 colleagues who really helped to make this happen, the fantastic team with which we have been working. So we have Raza, Egle, and Agne. I will make space for you guys there, who are going to present to us basically an introduction to the once-only technical system to build on what Mark was just presenting and help everyone have a harmonized understanding. So voila, guys, I give you the floor.
Good morning, everybody. We are also very excited to have you here in Vilnius. So I will be quite quick with my presentation. So imagine this. You are planning a trip across Europe. You book the flights, you reserve the hotel, maybe you even rent a car. And everything is smooth and seamless because all these services are connected. But the moment you need to deal with official documents, like registering a business, applying for education, or proving your qualifications, you hit a wall. Endless forms, repeated submissions, different rules in different countries. It feels like every system speaks its own language and none of them talk to each other. That's exactly the problem the once-only technical system is solving. And just like no single country could fix this alone, so we have 3 of us here, because making the system work takes collaboration. It takes trust. It takes every country working together to build a future where information flows securely and effortlessly, without putting the burden on citizens and businesses. So, before we dive into details, let's start with a short video, our newest production, where you will see what is the once-only technical system about in real-life situations. So, let's start.
Meet Lucas, a busy professional in Europe who's tired of paperwork when dealing with different administrations in Europe. What if there was a way to know what data to submit and where to find it much more easily? The single digital gateway, Your Europe, with the once-only principle could make everything simpler. But how? The system makes matches between what is required for a Member State A procedure and what the Member State B can provide, and automatically links these sources together for the user. This way, citizens and businesses don't need to search or know the equivalence of documents or data between different member states. The system fetches the needed data itself upon user request every time with explicit consent. The whole process results in more effective and secure administrative procedures, faster delivery of output to citizens and businesses, and a trusted exchange of public documents and data across administrations in the EU. This means more freedom to study, work, move, retire, or start a business anywhere in Europe. But to understand it better, let's go through a few concrete scenarios. Case number 1, studying abroad. Lucas applies online for a master's course in the Netherlands and needs to submit his BA diploma from Lithuania. The once-only principle allows him to request to share the original diploma securely with the Netherlands University. Easy. Case number 2, launching a business. Lucas now wants to be a businessman. Starting with his home country, he soon wants to expand to Spain. He does not know what authorities to contact there, but he finds them on Your Europe. And with Once Only, Lucas's original business registration documents, issued by the competent authority in Lithuania, can be shared with the authorities of other EU countries search-free upon Lucas's request. Now that's speed. Case number 3, claiming child benefits. Lucas starts a family abroad. A beautiful, life-changing event, except for the paperwork. With Once Only, Lucas retrieves the birth certificate from the country his child was born in and gives his home country explicit access to it to secure child benefits. Case number 4, moving a car. Lucas wants to move back home to raise his kids, and his new car must be registered back home. With Once Only, he can share his vehicle's registration certificate online with the authorities in his home country without any authenticity verifications needed. Smooth ride back home. As more of the public administrations across Europe choose to apply the once-only principle when providing their administrative procedures, everyone saves time and money through simplified bureaucracy, including Lucas. He can easily find and share authentic documents for cross-border procedures, fast, secure, and at his explicit request. Paperwork is done. Life moves forward.
Hello everyone, my name is Agla, and I briefly introduce you what are the benefits of OTS to citizens, businesses and competent authorities. This was repeated already a few times during today. Just in brief, to emphasize a few main aspects. As we know, in our member states, in our own countries, our citizens can easily access different procedures, e-services according to life events. And what does one's only technical system? It simply ensures the same accessibility to cross-border users. And it's great advantage because from now on, it's easier to live, to study, and to work across Europe. And doesn't matter from which member state you are, because together, all of us, we can ensure connections or integrations via national ones only technical system for seamless data exchange. So it saves time, it saves money, it saves resources, it creates new possibilities to businesses. Yeah, and also to all of us, because here today we are from governmental sectors, sector institutions. It also facilitates for us faster working conditions because data comes from authentic sources, from base registries, and we can be sure that data is real and authentic. We don't need to check validity of delivered documents of citizens or businesses. So simply one big step forward to digitalized and better future.
Good morning. So I will conclude our presentation. The future of the once-only technical system of a truly connected Europe does not depend on one country, one institution, or on one person. It depends on all of us. It depends on our willingness to reach across borders, to break the walls that hold us back, and to build something greater together. Because the challenges we faced are shared, and so must be the solution. The world is changing. The lines that once divided us are fading. We are no longer just citizens of our nation. We are citizens of something bigger. A Europe works together. A world that moves forward, united. And if we choose cooperation, if we choose action, if we choose to believe in what we can build together, there is no limit to what we can achieve. As our hero Lucas successfully travels across Europe with his family, let us to join on the journey of implementing the once-only technical system with determination and enthusiasm. Together, we can build a bridge for the brighter future filled with collaboration and working together. So let's get to work.
Well done, thanks, Agne. Okie dokie. Thank you very much. Oh, cheers. Very good. Okay, so what we've done this morning is obviously we've had some speeches which have set the scene. We've had our nice ceremony, and we've had an explanation about what the once-only technical system is and about the benefits to citizens and businesses. And basically, the last element we're going to have this morning is going to address that other major element that I think it makes a lot of sense for us to cover right at the beginning, and that is what is the experience of competent authorities who are connecting to the system, and how do we connect competent authorities? And this is the mammoth task that is ahead of us. A lot of work has been done building the core infrastructure, but it only works if we have basically a critical mass and a vibrant community of competent authorities with us. And it's very inspiring to see so many with us here today, as was the case in Helsinki. So this is what our panel is going to explore. So I'd like to invite my panelists up to the stage. I see two of them here. I see another two there. Thank you. Yeah. If we sit aligned with these, then I guess it's potentially a bit easier, yeah. Okie dokie. So first and foremost, a big thank you to all the speakers of today's panel who agreed to join us and to share their thoughts and their insights. And it's very exciting to be having this discussion today. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our speakers. So basically, we have two groups of colleagues with us here today. We're delighted to have three representatives of members of the Single Digital Gateway Coordination Group. And this is the expert group that is basically tasked with the implementation of the Single Digital Gateway regulation, and therefore for the once-only technical system. So we're delighted to have Alenka from Slovenia, George from Portugal, and Bjorn from Austria. And these people eat, live, sleep, drink the Single Digital Gateway, and have put so much time and effort into its realization. And as I mentioned at the outset as well, we would like this element to really bring in some perspectives from the competent authorities themselves. And for this reason, we're delighted to have Pedro here with us representing Portugal, and we have Stefan here also from Austria. So how I propose we do this is I'm going to take us through several sections. I'd like to begin by getting some perspectives from the representatives from competent authorities. Then I'll open it up to the members of the SDG coordination group. And then we'll see if there's questions from the floor, if that sounds good. So basically, to both of our members here representing competent authorities with that experience, would you be able to give us basically an idea of your experience so far, in understanding the once-only technical system, its benefits, also the challenges that you've maybe faced in terms of your connection to the system, and an idea of what the process has been, perhaps, from your journey so far. So if I can begin maybe with Pedro, and then I'll come to you, Steph.
Okay, good morning. Well, we have lots of challenges. Higher Education Directory have lots of business areas regarding higher education, mainly applying to higher education grants for students, diploma recognition, and we also have information about diplomas from our students. That's where we are starting because it's the easiest one. We saw in the video before that the first easiest one is to prove that someone gets a diploma. That's what we are trying to solve and implement with the OTS. But then we will have lots of challenges, mainly in applying to higher education and with student grants. Rules are different across countries. It's even difficult inside Portugal, as well as, I believe, inside other countries. Things like what is a family or what is the income is different between Portuguese institutions. So I don't really know at this moment how we are going to solve that, but it will be solved, of course, because Europe is used to get things done with in difficult tasks like that one. But so the main the first thing was to make the business areas understand the need to get OOTS into OOTS and look at our services to the citizens and see the potential use for other citizens and for our citizens as well, of course. That was the difficult part because we have 80 people, not even 100 people, and we have more or less 150,000 new citizens, dealing with new citizens every year. So we, of course, use mainly information systems, but we have lots of tasks to do. The services have a lot of tasks to do. We are getting new challenges inside an institution that is already full of those challenges. So that was the difficult part. I'm from IT, so sorry for that, but I'm not from a business area. But so I have a broader view of all the integrations needed, and it took me some time to get inside my organization and tell us that we need to look at this. I think that's solved right now, but or it's getting solved. Okay, not entirely solved. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Pedro. Stefan, would you like to come in with your experiences in your organization?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to present the current state of the once-only technical system in Austria, at the Austrian Study Grant Authority, which I'm representing. The Austrian Study Grant Authority is the competent authority for financial aid for students according to the Federal Student Support Act. So that's the one and only thing we do, providing financial support to students in Austria. As the competent authority for financial aid for students, we are processing at the moment roughly 60,000 applications per year. And that adds up to roughly 300 to 350 million euros of funds we transfer to students that study in Austria or sometimes even abroad. That's where the once-only technical system already comes into play. So that's what we transfer to students. Most of them are, of course, living in Austria, but there are also students from other countries, including other EU member states that will directly be able to profit from the single digital gateway regulation. We started working on the SDGR topic, I think it was back in 2020, somewhat in March, during the first lockdown in Austria due to COVID. And I was honestly a bit surprised, so okay, what's going on? And the first thing that came to my mind was the Sustainable Development Goals. And then I read through it and said, no, that's something different. And we've been working, we got informed much better since then, and we are working actively on single digital gateway since back then. And most of the time we spent working together with Björn and his team from the Austrian Federal Chancellery, yeah, that's the word, to define the requirements for the Austrian Study Grant Authority, because the Student Support Act in Austria is oddly specific to what is required to be able to request a study grant from us. And so I think we provided like 16 or 17 requirements. Yeah. And on the other hand, we also found in the air table, in the requirement table, at least one requirement that directly affects us, and which we are working to figure out how are we going to provide this information. And yeah, coming to as of now, or what we recently did back in December 2023, sorry, there was the requirement that I think that was one milestone in the OOTS project, and that's the date when we implemented like the EU login on our electronic application form, and we implemented a second language, English. So that's already been done. And now we are working on connecting our systems to the intermediary platform in Austria and to implement the process on the European level. And we have right now we have 3 challenges: 2 from the technical field, 1 from the legal field. Incoming data is one of the technical challenges. We are in progress to prepare our forms of being able to, like you showed in the presentation, and like Mark told us in his presentation, to be able that students applying for a grant can directly submit the information during their application process electronically. We have an electronic process like for 15 years at least, but to extend this to the OTS system. We are also working, and there's a form solution provider in Austria that we are in close contact with, who released a new software version that implements those OTS changes, and we are right now evaluating this software version, and we're working very hard to get this running as soon as possible, also together with Björn's department. We also probably have to provide certain data requirements. They're still in discussion right now, but I think this is something that is going to happen, namely proof of, I don't know the exact definition, but it's proof of study grant from country of residence or country of previous residence. And that is some kind of requirement that is very useful, I think, from our perspective, and something that we would like to know from other member states. And so I think it's only fair enough that other member states know if somebody receives a grant from Austria. And on the legal side of things, we are aware that there are quite some differences within the EU regarding legal definitions of various topics. I had some great discussion with Pedro from Portugal. I met 2 colleagues from Belgium, and basically we are all on the same page about different legislation in the different member states, different definitions of various things, and like who was it that said there is no country of birth on the birth certificate? And we have the same thing with income. What's income according to the Student Support Act in Austria, and what's even income in Austria? There are like 5 definitions of income in Austria, and not to mention what's income on a European level. Yeah, because study grants are calculated based on your income. As what's the income? So that's something we still have to work on. And of course, discussing all this requires time, and it requires courage, and it requires ambition. Yeah, but on the other hand, and that's what I noticed only this morning with the Belgian colleagues back there, and with Pedro, that we're facing the same challenges, and it puts us all on the same side. And I think this will enable us to search together for solutions to successfully implement the once-only technical system in Austria and in the EU, and also together with Björn. And that's probably what we have to focus on in the next few days, or in the next 2 days, or today and tomorrow, in this beautiful city, I have to add. And yeah, so that's the current state of the Austrian Study Grant Authority. We have, of course, only a very small part, and we have a very specific area, but I think we are making good progress, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you together in the education workshops. And yeah, thanks again for having us.
Thank you very much, Stefan. So we'll park that element there, but I do encourage everyone here who's representing a competent authority to think of a question you may have, or even just a point you want to raise. If anything of what the 2 gentlemen just said speaks to your experiences, this is obviously a moment now for us to share some of these ideas, and it's especially important, I think, interesting before we go into the workshop tracks. To change tack ever so slightly, I'd like to come to our 3 national coordinators, who are, of course, bringing with them especially the national context. So to the national coordinators, I would ask if you can share with us here now, in terms of the onboarding of competent authorities, this essential task that stands before us, that's very large in its scope, that embodies some of the challenges that Stefan and Pedro have just said. Excuse me. Would you be able and willing to share with us some of your experiences, your best practices, also challenges? And as we said when we spoke ahead of this, we're not looking to answer every question in this discussion, in this panel, even in this event. We have more local events coming up. This year we have a projectathon coming up in June. There are more points where we will discuss this, not to mention the meetings of the Single Digital Gateway Coordination Group. So let's say ladies first. So Alenka, would you like to share some of your experiences, best practices, and objectives in terms of onboarding competent authorities in Slovenia?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Good morning to everybody. Let me start with our starting point back in 2017. I believe that some of the people that are present today also took part in the TOP project. It was a kind of predecessor of the SDG and OETS system. And at that time, I asked my colleague, and I presented them idea of the TOP project. And my colleague Boris said that, Alenka, this is so complex and hard to achieve, to reach this goal. So it would be much cheaper and faster if you pay me the travel tickets and the hotels, and I will travel around and bringing around the paper documents, So whenever I think that, wow, it's really challenging, but at the end, I think that this is not a good alternative, So yeah, well, in Slovenia, actually, we started with this OETS nationally already more than 10 years ago. We had this regulation about once only already national. So, and we developed more than 10 years ago our component, our central system. We could call it OETS, Slovenian OETS, that actually today already connects more than 60 different data sources, including banks and insurance companies. So the motivation was for fair decision on social support, And today we have more than 30 different big systems already using and relying in their procedure on this solution. So it was very natural for us to start at this technical level to upgrading this tray, this national OETS system. We had to include preview, which was not the case before. So basically today we have quite mature and in production system for OETS, our tray, responding also to the SDG requirements. Well, we have also some other central components. So we could say that we have a lot of carrots for our competent authorities. But of course, the technical is maybe the easiest one. Well, in our case, it's also easy task from the legal perspective. I spoke this morning at the breakfast with some of the other member states, the coordinators, and it is obviously the case that in some member states it's a challenge to accept the evidences from other member states in their languages. Well, in our case, we are not yet there, but our responsible authority for General Procedure Act, they said that in our case, every competent authorities must accept the documents from anyone, even they are prepared on the toilet paper, So this is our starting point. So for us, legal obstacle is obviously not the case. But I think that we are, Mark said in your speech that the people are the heart of our efforts. And talking about people and the people also at the competent authorities, we created the intersectoral group composed now of more than 200 people. What we were trying to do is to have the coordinator for each of the areas. So perhaps for education, if I mention this one, we have the education coordinator that actually taking care of all the universities and all the other agencies. So we have kind of hierarchically developed and established this coordination. It's working okay. Well, we are not yet in a full speed, but we are going into this direction. So one of the good practice that I believe that it was prepared from us as a coordinators was also that we approach the competent authorities proactively. So we made all the analysis, we made the gap analysis based on the information that we gather on the web pages. So we approached them with this starting position, and we prepared together with the competent authorities the implementing plans. So it was a faster way to onboard them, to really have this, they saw that we are really approaching them proactively, and that we are offering them help wherever they need it, So, but, at this point, I would like to address one of the issues that I'm lacking as a coordinator now is perhaps this political support. The government changed during the adoption of SDG, and with the ministers, at least in Slovenian government, I guess that it's the same other way in other member states. We cannot compete with artificial intelligence. It's so high on the agenda, at least in our case. So, and SDG is really a high-level project, governmental project. So we ask the Commission to reinstate this importance of SDG and OETS, and of course also the synergies with upcoming the requirements for a wallet. Let me stop now.
Thank you very much, Alenka. Well, we're doing quite good for time, actually, so it's not such an issue. I'm going to carry through the other two speakers first before we come to some Q&A, so everyone gets a chance to speak. So, Jorge, would you mind introducing us to the Portuguese context?
So, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to be here. Yeah, well, where to start? I always like to say this sentence. Most of you probably heard me saying it already. It's not about the tool, right? So we made the tool is working. Some people asked us to develop a system that could communicate between countries and exchange XML files, and we did it, right? So it exchanges a lot of things and it works, so it's working. In countries like Portugal that are sometimes really different from authority to authority. Some authorities are really advanced and we have seamless services in some cases. In other cases, we don't have even digitalized services. So we have a big gap between authorities. What we tried to do was so we have this system, and there's a centralized agency, one I worked with. We decided to abstract the complexity of OTS and bring them the tool. So you have the tool, right? So now the fun begins. So now it's people and processes. Now it's where do we start? So you could bring this in, I would say, 3 levels. The first level is to convince the decider, the political decider, that this is a priority. So sometimes we manage to do that, sometimes we don't. We try to, because colleagues, most of the time, even if we approach them, they say, well, I believe in you, it's a regulation, you have to do it, but I have other things that people are asking me for, so, and I have other things to do, so I don't have the priority. So if we manage to get the priority in line, ahead of artificial intelligence and all the big buzzwords that sometimes come around that are like I said, to say, easier to sell on television. Sometimes it's hard to do the groundwork of digitalizing services and connecting systems and understanding what you're doing, right? Next step is with the organizations themselves. Then you have to figure out what exactly do you do that's important. What are your procedures? What are your public services? What's the difference between a public service and a procedure? What's in scope? So what do I have to do? And it helps a lot to have people like Pedro and Stefan, for example, that are real champions inside the organizations, that they see the advantage and they help us get the message through. But then you need people in the organizations doing the groundwork of finding out all the procedures and listing everything and building mechanisms to monitor the gap between what they have, because most of them are really advanced, like I said, and most aren't. So we need to know what there is to do so that we can show the political decider what's the priority, where to put the money. So I have this authority, which is more or less okay, and that authority needs more investment, for example, on a given field. So we are always also working on that. And finally, to have a system talking, and this has been mentioned a lot, even by Stefan here already today, to have communication, you need a language, and most of the times the language is not the same. Different authorities, even within the same country, they speak different languages. They see services differently, they see requirements differently, they interpret the documents differently, and most of the time they just ask for documents because they always ask for documents. So I always ask for a birth certificate. Why do you need a birth certificate? Oh, because I want to know if the person is of age, if he's over 18. But if you want to know if he's over 18, a yes or no would be sufficient. You wouldn't need the whole document. In Portugal, a birth certificate is your whole life history. So why do you need the name of my grandfather almost to find out if I'm over 18? You don't, right? So to change the mentality, you need to rethink the service. And together with some groups in Portugal, we are already working on rethinking trying to rethink the services OTS by design. For some countries here, and I know some of the colleagues, this is a given. They work like this for years. For us, it's been quite new to get the message through that you should rethink the services from within. Why do you need the information? What do you need the person to prove, right? If you need somebody to prove he exists, again, a yes or no will be sufficient from a given proven authority that says this person exists since date X. It's enough, right? You don't need a whole paper with several stamps on it saying that he exists or that he married. You don't know. You need to know, for example, it was one of the discussions yesterday. You need to know if he's married. You don't need to know how many times he was married, right? So this is the focal point. So, and I'm going to stop here, or else I won't stop because. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, George. And then to round off this section, then Bjorn, will you give us some more insights, indeed, into the Austrian perspective?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, so let me start off by a bit of an overview of the Austrian side. So we're in a kind of lucky situation because we already could base all the implementation efforts for the once-only technical system on a national infrastructure, a centralized infrastructure. We could extend the existing digital Austrian data exchange, the platform for data exchange between Austrian competent authorities, with an intermediary platform, where in our opinion also one of the crucial bits for lowering the bar of entry for the competent authorities was to provide some centralized components, so a preview component and a visualization component, for example, for creating PDFs from structured data, which comes from the competent authorities. Right, so that helped a lot, and we could also base the efforts on existing connections, right? So we had key registries in the population and business domain already connected to the digital Austrian data exchange, which meant that we could provide evidence types in production quite reasonably simply, let's put it like this, right? Yeah, so this is from the provider side, from the point of view of the evidence requesters. From our point of view, what was mentioned already was the formal language, mentioned by Stefan, mentioned by you, George, and this is one of the key components also for the whole once-only technical system. Mark, you mentioned this already as well, connecting the procedural requirements with the available evidence from other member states. And we had some really great work there, some concentrated workshops also with the study grant authority. So thank you for that as well. Very early on, which really led also to the definition of this large number of requirements, which we could then take to the European level and refine. And I'm very happy and excited that the refined versions of many of these requirements are going to be discussed in the workshops here in Vilnius. Right, so we are going to see the fruits of this labor as well. And so I think what was a key component there also was the really workshops with the experts from the competent authorities. I mean, you cannot do it without this, right? Yeah, so I mean, of course, it's not all smooth sailing. Well, maybe one more point regarding the description and the formal language. So from our point of view, from the Austrian point of view, this whole process, I mean, it's a huge effort, right? It's a huge effort to define the procedural requirements. It's a huge effort to map evidence types to these requirements. We have to talk to, or we talk to all the competent authorities there. But also, I think we should all keep in mind that this is potentially very much relevant far beyond the context of the Single Digital Gateway regulation, right? So these are efforts which go directly towards standardization efforts in the whole European Union, which go towards standardization efforts with, in terms of the UD wallet, for example. So from the Austrian point of view, we hope that we can really use all the work which has been put into the standardization efforts and the definition of the language, for example, in defining rule books for the UD wallet, in defining standardized data models for the wallet, right, which can then be used in many other contexts. So we also try to put this into the implementing regulations for IDAS, for example, and yeah, we're very curious what the new version is going to look like. I think it should come out like in the following days for feedback, right? So let's see about this. Yeah, but so as I mentioned, it's not all smooth sailings. Of course, we also had some challenges. So as mentioned, in Austria, we have certain general form solution providers where a number of competent authorities are connected. And this, we must say that this took a bit of a time to get going initially to connect the general form solution providers. But now, also thanks in large parts to a pilot project with the federal state of Salzburg, we have a connection to the A-Forms, one of the biggest solution providers in Austria, right, which will allow competent authorities to connect much easier by just essentially configuring in the form configurator what kind of evidences they need from the once-only technical system and what kind of evidences they need from the national once-only system. Right, so this is also one point where I think SDG once-only technical system and national systems, once-only systems, they can really benefit each other. Right, on the one side, we have an obligation to connect to the OTS, which means that the registers, the procedures are going to be connected there. So that means they can also essentially be used for national once-only procedures, right? On the other side, of course, the national use cases usually are going to be much higher volume, right? So this is kind of the carrot to the national use cases as the carrot, whereas the SDG use cases are the stick, which gets them to connect, right? But I mean, this is really the point that you have a lot of benefit as a competent authority also, potentially, if you can leverage the connection for the national once-only system. Right. One other challenge which I would like to address is more on a European level. So this is an issue with testing. So we currently still don't really have a satisfactorily complete end-to-end testing regime in the productive system. And this is one point which we have learned from experience also. There are differences between the acceptance systems and the production systems. The whole system is rather complex. There are a lot of components which have to link together and work together. So yeah, we learned from experience that even if it works in the acceptance system, it does not necessarily work in the production system. So maybe this is a point which I would also like to give to the competent authorities. Then if you're connecting, then plan sufficient time for testing. Maybe do some pilot projects with other member states where you can pilot the productive data exchange in the end, just to be sure that it works.
Excellent. Many thanks, Bjorn. So, I mean, as a sort of, yeah, Stefan.
Can I make just one small addition, because I'd like to refer what you said, Bjorn, and what Georges said, because this is exactly what concerns us as a competent authority. When we were thinking about how to provide data, and if you get, I call it a letter of acceptance so you receive a grant. It's a letter like 4 to 5 pages, and it also includes data that would probably raise some red flags regarding privacy if someone submits them to another authority, because there is often the income from the parents and things like that in that letter of acceptance. And then we were thinking, okay, we could probably develop a one-pager that says person X in like 3 languages. Person X receives a grant from the Austrian Study Grant Authority, and we discussed it yesterday with Björn. And Björn just mentioned they have a system to create PDFs, and that even more simplified the situation for us, because now we basically only have to transmit like an XML data set, yeah, with 4 or 5 values, and the PDF that we were thinking about to create, which would of course would have been work for us to implement, and we don't even need to implement this because we just send a data set to Björn, yeah, that's a few bits and bytes, and the PDF is created and submitted to the intermediary platforms and to the other member states. And this is something that is very valuable to us, and this is something that we should strive to achieve for, because this simplifies the process for the competent authorities, and it also reduces the workload and helps us to move forward, and will probably raise the acceptance a lot. And also the other carrot that we are strongly we have a strongly digitalized process in Austria in the Student Support Act. We get lots of data already from other ministries and authorities, but the carrot to even increase this, the potential sources to get digital data via interfaces based on that once-only technical system and on those platforms that have been set up. That is, of course, a very attractive carrot for us too, because it would even simplify the process of applying for a study grant, not only for citizens from other EU member states, but also for citizens from Austria. So this is something very attractive too. But I really like that your remarks, Björn. Thank you.
Yeah, just a short one. And what Stefan said now remind me of a good, because it's not only reducing the number of paper you send to the size of the PDF. I believe if I'm starting to actually believe if you start rethinking the services OTS by design, you will get to a point where you find that you don't need the service at all, or you just need the citizen to authenticate with his ID wallet or with his electronic ID and say, I want this, and all the information can be gathered without him having to add anything else. Moreover, and this is a huge benefit, in my opinion, for the competent authorities, because, for example, we have a competent authority in Portugal that needs to evaluate applications for housing, and they have thousands of applications so they were asking us for help on some AI magical tool that would solve all the analysis of the applications. And we said, why don't you cut the problem before they apply? If you can find out that the person is not eligible for the grant, you tell them you can't submit it because you're not eligible. So there you reduce already half of the problem, and probably can do this automatically or close to automatically if you just, with a system like OTS, ask for information where it's available, and then you just filter, and you have 10% to analyze. So it's a huge benefit if these systems are implemented, and they start being implemented, aligning semantics, aligning definitions, and building from below, from the ground up, not with the tools, well, the tools help, but you need to speak and talk to each other. So these events are really important. Yeah.
Thanks, George. Would anyone else on the panel like to come in on this discussion? Or else, Alenka? Yeah? No,
Yes, I would just like to add to this that I learned that everybody is, having the structural data, and then we are transforming it into PDF. And I think that we should go a step further and going into this semantic efforts to be able to actually exchange, not in the PDF, so this is something that it's a call for maybe already talking about visions, but we are there, especially with the upcoming wallet solution, where we will have to provide the structural data in any case, so yeah.
Thank you very much, Alenka. Okay, I'd like to take a minute just to open it up to the floor, because I think we've covered quite a few topics there. Are there any questions or indeed comments from anyone else in the room? There's one, basically for me, quite a high-level one, actually, while people have a think, because Alenka and George, you both mentioned the struggle and the necessity to get political support from the political level. I wanted to ask, basically, I mean, how do you go about doing this? I mean, how do you try and achieve this? And what could be done, if anything, that would help you, especially in terms of, the level of the SDG? How could you be supported to help get the political level backing the SDG implementation when indeed you're competing with AI projects and this kind of stuff? So I'd ask first to Alenka and then to George.
Well, yeah, it was very helpful when Slovenia received the letter or congratulator about OETS. So I think that it was one step that actually make our effort more visible towards our minister. But I think it's not enough, at least from my perspective. It should be, we should have perhaps on some event that are actually, I don't know, in our case, Prime Minister is present, where they could, the prime ministers to hear about the importance of single digital market in general, to have this visibility. This is one of the very obvious, but I think that it's really important, especially if we are in our case, we have 1 year before the elections, so, EU stuff are not so on the political agenda, so it's important to deliver the results nationally, so this is the moment that it will be really good for, especially for the coordinators and then also the responsible people at the competent authorities. Yeah.
Thank you, Alenka. George?
Well, we were quite fortunate in the late two governments because there was an alignment on digital, and it was published a few months ago, 2 months ago, a national digital agenda, digital strategy. So it helps to have it as a backup. Mm-hmm. What Bjorn said also helps, the carrot and the stick. And where SDG is the stick, but the carrot actually is within the country to reuse these systems and to help digitalize more efficiently. But yeah, what happened in Portugal, some law was published forcing authorities to align with the gov.pt portal. So everybody has to align as a federated service and not on his own, mm-hmm. which helps. Also helped the fact that they built a council for the digital, piggybacking on the digital agenda, and we have forums now where we discuss specifically public services or data exchange. That's where I'm introducing things like OTS by design or semantics and things like that. So what we try to do is basically we try to piggyback on these new laws in this vision for the digital, and we put SDG, things like SDG as a basis of discussion. So SDG requirements are baseline, for example. you have to connect to OTS, dot. Even if you're not in scope, then comes the carrot, or but you might benefit from it, even if you're not in scope. So from the Commission, well, I could say the letter, I was telling Mark this morning, the letter for the Services Directive helped a lot, because it was a big stick. It helped at least to put things in motion and to do one thing that I was trying to do for years, which was to have a list of services. I couldn't even have a list. I was years asking for a list and they didn't reply. So I finally got a list because there was a letter from the Commission saying you all go to court if you don't, and I promised the Commission I'll try and see what it is to do. I said a while ago, you need to know the scope. So you can't work on nothing. So you have to have a list of things to do, right? So you have to find which services you have to digitalize first, then start working from there, right? And this is a big task because there's a lot of, depending on the concept of service and procedure, you can get lists of tens of thousands of items. Mm-hmm. So it's really a thing. But yeah, we have been fortunate with the political sponsorship as of lately. I hope it continues. Now we'll have a new government soon, so I will hope it continues. But yes.
If you don't mind, George. And I remember being in the meeting where you presented what was being done in the SDG in some kind of higher level at PCM. And we were told as competent authorities by someone near the minister that, well, you must do the work. So I think that that's what we really need to see some higher level people telling us that we should enter the single digital gateway at the right time and with the right tools that we now have. At the time, OTS was not a thing yet. So I think this is very positive.
Well, a bit of a, are there any questions from the floor? Because otherwise I think we can busy ourselves up here. No? Okay, I mean, building a bit on this, I mean, because I'm a communications profile originally, not a technical profile. So to Pedro and Stefan, when it comes, like from the perspective of a competent authority, do you feel that the implicit benefits available to competent authorities, so the automation of processes, the greater assurance, around data, is easy or well understood? Or do you think it's a case of a lot more initial pushback? They're seeing development costs, the cost of change, the cost of transition. I'm saying this question as well because I think it'll maybe feed into some of the workshop discussions. I mean, both of you having been in this position, and on the other side then the political, trajectory, I just wanted to get your thoughts a bit on that.
Okay, so like I said before, it was difficult. The first thing that I heard was that it was not possible. Okay, that is not possible because we have different needs and so on. So I got back a little, and we were at the time starting to rethink processes and information systems from grants, for instance. I think it started in 2007. So of course that it's now changed a lot in those days, but we are now designing a new information system, the same with applying to higher education. So let's have those problems and then add some other problems. I'm not saying about OTS by design, like George said, but with interoperability by design. Not only interoperability inside the organization, that's usually, I think, but for giving services to other public institutions. We, at the grants, we are using this interoperability with the public national financial service, with social security to get the incomes. But, well, that was forced because it was really needed, or else we will need 100 people just to look at the grants. And today is just push a button. But so thinking about our problems and adding this solution can help a lot. I think that this was one of the greatest things that we had from something like this. But again, there was lots of problems. One of them is we have those platforms in Portuguese, so that's a problem, okay? And that's something that we are dealing with, of course. Even if we have public information in English also, that's not what we need right now. Now we are at the moment that this is all processed. Like I said before, we are starting with the implementation of the diplomas. That's good. That will show us the need for those services, the simpler services that we could have, and get it to work. And let's show the first institution, and then I hope the country will help also the country to look at some of this to this service and get things together to go ahead and do the same to other services.
Great, thank you, Pedro. Stefan, do you want to come in quickly?
Yeah, it was kind of first thing was like, okay, this is gonna be easy because we allowed to apply for a study grant electronically since back in 2005. Yeah, and then we dived a bit further into it, and it was like, okay, this is not going to be that easy. And I think that's where we are right now, trying to find ways to make it easy again and to simplify the steps and to break it down into achievable steps that can be implemented. And one thing is like working with structurized data. Yeah? That would make things easier, and that would allow to overcome the challenges. Yeah, and to really get this process going on. Yeah, it was like, because we ourselves, we provided like 16 or 17 requirements, and I thought, who is going to be eligible for this? Nobody, because it's so specific. Who will going to be able to provide this specific requirement where we need to know like what was your income on that day under these certain conditions? Yeah, most of the member states don't have even those data available, so there won't be any, there will be zero chance that anybody applies for this under these conditions. And what George said, yeah, we don't need probably like 1,000 bits of information, but only like the 5 relevant, and then suddenly it works. Yeah, and this is probably the biggest thing we have to overcome, and this is also what we discussed with Björn yesterday, to find a common language, to find common definitions that work for the technical system, but also work for the different national legislation. Is that the word?
Legislature?
Legal situations. Legislation, yeah. And that's, and I'm repeating myself, but that's probably the key to success, yeah, to get this going, yeah. And there will always be different legal situations in the member states, and for study grants, it's always focused, of course, on the citizens of one country, yeah. And the solution probably would be like to have a European Student Support Act that covers all of the European countries. That would be something actually cool. Yeah, I'm not too sure if the Austrian state would agree with that, but I think that would really allow people like to move freely around Europe. That's probably because of my sources, because I worked earlier for Leonardo da Vinci and Socrates, and I really found that to be useful to, you know, like roam around Europe and make experiences. Yeah. But it's about simplification a bit and about a common language. That's probably the key to success from my point of view.
Very good. Okay,
can I ask you for one minute only, Thomas?
Very quickly.
Okay, you are talking. I heard about PDFs a lot. Well, I'm from IT, so PDFs for me is some kind of, okay. What we should use OTS is to exchange metadata, and then the data is used for the service, just like George said. If that gives me just yes or no, that's what I need. I don't need to know what I'm dealing with. So metadata and structured data between, using OTS between services. I think that's the main part. I know that the citizen needs some kind of PDF for something, okay, that's good to me, but I think that that is not the problem. There are lots of tools to make PDFs. The data, like Stefan said, it's really the problem here.
Okay, no problem at all. Okay, so we're basically at the end of time, but I would like to give a minute just to hear next steps, maybe also a marketing opportunity for Georges then. So in terms of the next steps, in terms of once only, so I guess for the competent authorities, perhaps it's in that journey of connecting and service provision benefiting from once only, and from our national coordinators in terms of indeed, how to keep the momentum going and how to deploy the strategies. So quite a long question, but if we can do a quick fire round, some highlights of what are actions upcoming and what your ideas are. Bjorn, we'll start with you, and then we'll just work our way down.
Yes, thanks a lot. So maybe, okay, maybe not so quick. Maybe just one more comment. Yes, it is about the structured data. We should really try to leverage also the synergies with the wallet as well. I think this would also really benefit the competent authorities to have to be certain that their efforts are not going to be wasted, right? So I think this would be greatly appreciated. Also, that where the synergies would be kind of fixed at the European level, right? In terms of other immediate steps, of course, we're going to continue onboarding competent authorities, where we will try to get the procedure from the study grant authority online, for example, and we're going to continue to provide more evidences, of course. Thank you.
Yes, next steps, getting the form solution running to which implements the OOTS changes with A-Forms. That's one of the big companies in Austria. Second step, preparing an electronic interface to provide the data in a structurized form to the intermediary platform. Step 3 is working with you all together in the next 2 days, and I'm here together with my colleague from our legal department, and we will be in the education workshops for the next two days to find common challenges and problems we probably face, and to somehow find a solution to them, or to develop ideas how to overcome these obstacles. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yes, on our side, at the national level, we are preparing the standards for procedure implementation, not talking about only this SDG triggered, but definitely we are including the OETS by design and also cross-border by design, which is not so, it's not so obvious yeah, for the competent authorities. We are also preparing the scoreboard because we realized, as you said, we don't know what is our final goal. It's a moving target. So we are still discovering the new institutions, the new procedures, also new regulation of SDG, new services in annexes. So this is something that we are trying to achieve. This is nationally. Of course, as Björn said, we are searching for those, and we are asking for the synergies also at the EU level regarding the wallet, interoperability, etc. What I have a task also for the Commission, for the technical team. We are missing, for example, to have like a sandbox for our ETS. Some Slack channel to be more effective. To be more effective in these new implementations, for example, or even reference implementation. That will be really helpful for our developing team when coming to the new releases of, for example, for technical implementation. This is short.
Thanks, Link.
Well, not going down on a down spiral in the end of my talk here, but I also think we have to deliver. Well, I'm always one for building things from the ground up and building them properly and right. And I believe what Bjorn said, that this is the road for standardization and this is the road for common language, but that's a long road. And coming back to the political decisors that I was mentioning before, and actually also to help Mark a lot, we need to deliver. This thing needs to happen, so we need to be pragmatic. First of all, if we don't have structured data, okay, we exchange PDF. We don't comply fully with the GDPR because we are sending the whole document instead of just a Boolean. It happens. It's what we have now, and we work from there. We have to deliver, right? So it would be my final mission. And of course, invite you all, the marketing part, invite you all to Lisbon in September to continue this discussion, of course.
Thanks, George. Pedro.
Okay, pretty quick. The next step is to run the implementation. I just said about diplomas and to learn about some challenges that we don't know yet, that we will learn for those other services that we are, well, in the middle of thinking what we need, and we will learn with this simple service and have a simpler life, I think, with those services after getting the evidence mapping and all other difficult stuff.
Fantastic. Okay, we're running slightly over, so I'd like to end the panel there, and a big thank you to the panelists for their time. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yeah, because we'll have a presentation before lunch. Thanks a lot, Stefan. Cheers. Very good. Okay. So what we've tried to do there, as we said, we've tried to bring in that one final essential element, which is the journey of the competent authorities, how they connect to the system, what their challenges are, and what direction they're going in. And this will feed into, obviously, the discussions we'll be having this afternoon and tomorrow. You've all been very good listening to the speeches, the presentations, and the panel. And in the first half of this afternoon, we're going to liven things up, and we're going to break you up into workshops. This is how we approach things as well in Helsinki to great success, and allows people to speak, obviously, in domains and areas in which they're a bit more familiar. So we're going to have, before lunch, a presentation on the how we're going to organize the workshops, what we want to get from the workshops, and some practical details. Then we'll break for lunch, and then you will go directly to your workshop rooms, which are located just here next to us, and we'll show you which room is in which, and we have one room downstairs as well. That is Martin's track, yeah? So that's the Go Live track. And this will take us into the afternoon, okay? So after lunch, straight into the workshop rooms. The newcomers track will be in here. So now we have to see if technology is still our friend, and if Nils is with us, because Nils unfortunately couldn't join us, unfortunately for the very nice reason his partner is expecting, so he couldn't justify the mission, which we all agree with. Nils, can you hear us? Do you hear us?
A very good morning to you. My name is Nils McGrath, and I am the editor of the Evidence Mapping subgroup. I also get a chance to try and figure out how we should run these workshops most effectively. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about those today. But first of all, I'm really sad not to be with you. I love these events. The one that we had in Finland was just fantastic, and I'm sure you're having a good time in Lithuania too. A huge thank you to the colleagues for organizing it. Basically, the energy that these events create is what's key. Like every time we come together in a room and see each other in real life rather than behind tiny WebEx squares, we are really re-inspired to move this project forward. And what a project this is. When I try and explain to people that we are trying to connect every public administration in Europe to deliver seamless public services to all Europeans, I often get a funny look. They say kind of, good luck with that. And we're getting ever closer. I cannot wait until we see their faces when they experience the OOTS for the first time. So by the end of this event, I hope those of you who don't know what OOTS is yet will know exactly what it is. And those of you who are slightly tired of OOTS will have a spring back in your step because of the energy of the people in the room. And we shall all be in that first category of being re-excited about implementing the once-only technical system. Now, Tom may have mentioned this introduction, I'm not sure. But the reason I'm not with you today is because my partner's expecting another baby any minute now. We already have one. She's 3, and those of you who know toddlers know that it's quite existential. They always want to know why, and sometimes it's difficult to answer these questions. But in our case, I thought it was worth a go just reminding us of the why. Simon Sinek says we should always start with that why. So I was talking to her and she was like, so what it is that you do? And I say, well, we enable the seamless exchange of data between public administrations to deliver better public services. Unfortunately, she said, but why? I said, I mean, the key is that citizens and businesses no longer need to figure out what data they require from one country to get something done in a different country. She says, yeah, but why is that important? I said, well, make it really easy for people to make the most of the EU. They can go and study in a country they've always wanted to. They can go and change jobs and work somewhere else. They could even retire to a sunny place. Or they can try and expand their business into a different member state. And still, she asks, why? I said, well, you know, this is the fundamentals of the EU. These are our 4 freedoms, allowing us to move as people, move services, capital. These are the promises that the European Union is founded on. But why those promises? Why is it important? Well, increasingly, we're saying so that Europe can compete on the world stage, and compete we will have to if you've been following the news. But why is it that we want to compete on the world stage? And at some point, you get to the root, right? Essentially, we want to ensure peace, we want to ensure prosperity, and we want to ensure quality of life for the people all over Europe. And this is the story that OOTS connects to. The OOTS is a big step forward for these things. So we've organized 4 2-part workshops for you. Now, this project is obviously hugely ambitious, and we need to get a lot of people involved in order to deliver it. But I think what's important to remember sometimes is that each of us is at a slightly different stage of our journey in this project. Some of you will be new and figuring out, what is this thing? And what exactly do I have to do to contribute? Some of you are veterans, been here for many years. You know the challenges we face, and you have lots of good ideas about how we should overcome them. I think the key is that the time we spend together at these events is critical to move everybody just a little bit further along on this journey of being able to contribute to the OOTS and getting this implementation done. So when we try and design these workshops, we try and balance these 2 things. On the one side, we try and make sure that as an individual, you can get the most out of the days that you spend with us. We appreciate that many of you have come from far away and are taking time out of your daily work and your to-do lists and the deadlines that you have to come and contribute to this event. We realize also that you're away from your families. But we also try and balance the needs of the project. So what are the most important things that need to be discussed together? How can we use our collective knowledge to try and overcome the challenges that the project has and really move the project forward? So we really hope that you get something out of these sessions over the next 2 days. And my only advice would be to be open, to be engaged, to remember that you're only there once. You'll only be in Lithuania once for these workshops, so make the most of it. And of course, don't forget that there are no silly questions. Everybody has something to contribute to this. We're always really interested in being challenged. If you can think of better ways to deliver this great project, adaptations we should make, communication we should do, different strategies that we should try, voice them. We are very lucky that we have some great facilitators for these different sessions. We have, I think, Flora and Mark and Caroline, who are going to run the newcomer session. Here it's really about understanding the benefits of the OOTS, how it works, and to work out what your role is and how you fit into the bigger picture and the services that we have available to you. I think Bjorn might have mentioned when he talked on the panel about this transition that we're doing from detailed descriptions or to more detailed descriptions of procedural requirements. And that's key for our population data workshop over the next 2 days. We're really going to try and understand what data will be exchanged and if we all mean the same thing when we're talking about different concepts in the population data set. On the education side, we've been lucky enough to be involved in a pilot project with both Finland and the Netherlands, and we've been mapping out what is the real journey. So the whole journey for a student who's getting a recognition of their academic qualifications, applying to a university, applying for a study grant, and then registering their address. How are all these steps going to fit together, and how is the evidence exchange to the OOTS really going to enable a better version of their lives and their experience of studying in different countries? On the business side, that vast scope that we have on the business side, we are trying to, we will present a methodology during the session, and it's a first version, and we hope to be able to test, iterate, and improve on that methodology so that we have a good way to analyze all the vast scope of the business procedures and really begin to get both the procedures and the evidences live so people can benefit from them. And then, of course, Martin is running a Go Live coordination track to discuss how member states can best coordinate the Go Live of their procedures and their evidences. These are the rooms. We'll keep them on screen. Hopefully people with you can help you navigate to where these different places are. So that's it from me in terms of a presentation. Again, I hope you have a wonderful couple of days. I can't wait to see you all again. But in the meantime, enjoy the sessions, enjoy the time that you have together, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much. Back to you in the room.
Thank you, Nils. He can't hear us, I guess, but I'm communicating it to him that it was all received. Okay, so we're exactly at the lunch break. There's only an hour, so I'll keep it very quick. We will leave here the names of the rooms, so you can consult them if you need, and if you want as well, you can scan the QR code on the back of your badge, and that takes you to the agenda where we have them there as well. During the lunch break, it will be served downstairs at the bar, so the bar by the windows by the main entrance, and as well in the restaurant area. They should recognize your lanyards. It should be fine. We have a nice photo wall and photo opportunity over here, so especially if you're here with a team or with strangers or with yourself, or however you want to do it, do take some photos here and enjoy that. And I think my mind runs dry on anything else. People want lunch. Bon appetit. And it's workshops straight after this, so go to your workshops, please. Thanks, everyone.